living in an old, large house in Kansas City, I had the opportunity, one might say, to play an epic game of sardines by myself. I was lying in my bed one night, and I was watching as the clock turned to 2:30 in the morning. My mind was wide awake, contemplating life as I laid there, willing myself to just go to sleep. As I was wishing this for myself, I heard a thump-thump, scratch, some breathing, scattering, and then a pause right outside of my bedroom door. My roommates happened to both be gone on this particular night, and I laid in my bed, hovering under my covers, thinking, I'm a strong, independent woman. I have faith in Jesus, my Savior. I have no fear. So I got out of my bed, and I quietly tiptoed to my bedroom door. I reached out for the doorknob, ready to confront whoever was standing outside of my bedroom door. But like Peter, I lost faith after that initial step and turned around and quickly tiptoed back to my bed and rolled underneath my bed, hiding so quietly for the next hour that my sleep tracker thought I was actually asleep. It was only after an hour of this epic game of sardines that I realized if someone was going to come into my room, they would have done it 58 minutes ago. So I crawled back into my bed and slept soundly for a few more hours. And 2 weeks later, we found out we had a family of raccoons living in our old and hidden chimney that was located in the wall right next to my bedroom door. So in this passage for today from Matthew, we heard how Jesus conquered a storm, walked on water, and made himself visible to his disciples of little faith in a mysterious and unexplainable way. The part, or the person rather, of the story that is often overlooked is how Peter responds to the storm. Peter is the one disciple who chooses to conquer his fear and follow Jesus out into that stormy water. Peter is still afraid, and he fumbles and falls, and then he reaches out to Jesus for help. And Jesus does not hesitate when he offers his hand to Peter. Peter tries, fails, calls out for help, and is rescued. And what I like about Peter in this story is that he is not portrayed as the perfect disciple, not even close, but he tries so hard. In Matthew 14, Peter is the one disciple to take the risk and try to walk out on the water to follow Jesus. And I wonder what Peter had hoped to accomplish by trying to walk on water. Did he need to do it so that he could believe Jesus really could? I know a few people who would need to try that. Or did he too want to be so much like Jesus that he wanted to try this cool trick too? But Peter ends up failing miserably by trying to walk on water because he loses faith in how to follow Jesus in this act. But I think it's at least notable that he tried to meet Jesus in the turmoil. Peter doesn't just try to walk on water, he tries to walk on water during a storm with waves crashing around him and wind gusting every which way. Peter is the go-getter of the disciples, in my opinion, because of this. He saw Jesus and wanted to follow him or be like him with all of his might. And he pushed through his fear initially. He stood up and walked out onto that stormy water, and then paused as his faith trembled and he began to struggle in that stormy water. But Peter still didn't give up. Instead, he reached out and called out to Jesus, saying, I need your help. I want to follow you, but I don't know how. I think many of us know just how hard it is to admit our own fears and failures, especially after we have already put ourselves out there and tried something new. Peter tried something unimaginable and then asked for help when he needed it most. It's something that is scary to do, to take those first initial steps, and then it can be embarrassing or disheartening when it doesn't work out as planned. But Peter teaches us that we can always ask for help in these situations. So I'm going to read some of these verses again from Matthew, and I invite you all to listen closely to the dialogue between Peter and Jesus. While this story is traditionally remembered as a story in which Jesus walks on water, what I take most from this story is how Jesus showed up in the dark of the night for the scared disciples. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they cried. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," replied Peter, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down from the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" What I take from this dialogue is the faith that Jesus had in Peter. Jesus truly believes in Peter. And this question Jesus asks of Peter of, "Why did you doubt?" makes me think of the strength Jesus believed Peter to have. And that can be powerful, to have someone believe in you and your strength so much more than you ever believed in yourself. And I know that there's much to be said about self-confidence, and yet that outside affirmation can be a welcomed relief in the turmoil of a storm. And Jesus offers that to Peter as he shows up to all of the disciples in the storm. For centuries, people have debated this historical accuracy of Jesus walking on water. Many have said scientifically that it's not possible. So, was it an illusion? Was Jesus actually walking on the shore? Or was it the divine shining through Jesus' actions? But I find that focusing on the dialogue between Jesus and Peter offers readers another thing to continue to ponder and question. With this insight, we can see what these supportive relationships look like and how we can learn to believe in ourselves and in those around us. Matthew's telling of this story highlights that the miracle of Jesus walking on water was not just to show off to his disciples so that they would believe, but it was also to show Jesus coming to their aid in a time of need. Jesus came to shepherd God's people into safety. Peter fails and doubts in this story, but he also grows and learns how to have faith in Jesus. We get to see how supportive and loving Jesus is in this story. And like Peter, we can often be caught in the middle between faith and doubt. We can confidently take that first step towards the fighting storm or that weird thumping sound outside of our bedroom door. But fear can engulf us so much that we lose faith in ourselves and in God. However, this little faith that is within Peter and others who had ventured into the storms is also intertwined with courage and fear, trust and doubt, and the knowledge that Jesus will overcome all of this and welcome us in with outstretched hands. Jesus believes in us, so we can believe in ourselves too. No one needs to walk this journey alone because the divine waits for us at the end of every road, every new opportunity, and every stormy sea.